All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Purpose Over Profits podcast. I'm Jim Floyd with Ascent Total Performance.
And I'm Jeremy Powers, owner of Powers Insurance Experts.
All right, today we're going to have another really interesting episode. And so many of you out there may be surprised to learn that both Jeremy and I actually read books.
I listen to books on Audible. Let's just be transparent here.
So before we started recording today, Jeremy was talking about a book that he ran across and really read/listened to while he was traveling to and from a conference. Mm-hmm. And so we thought that'd be a great topic today. So Jeremy's read the book. I have not read it at all. So we get to kind of bounce back and forth a little bit with some of the principles that were posited in the book and that kind of thing. So you get Jeremy's had time to think about these things. All these things are brand new to me. So you're going to get my unfiltered opinion. And so I'm going to try not to say any cuss words or anything like that. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, this is the first time I could say this. So, Jim, before we get there, I think we need to go back a little bit, okay? And so I want to tell you guys why I'm on an airplane reading a book, listening to a book. So in 2015, I read a study that said the biggest difference that you could change tomorrow or today between a millionaire and an average person is that millionaires read an average of 50 books per year, and that an average person reads less than one book per year. And wow, that hits so hard. And I think that my goal, I think I read this in like September, but it was like, let's get 3 books before the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And ultimately what happened is that really lit a fire in me. And so wouldn't say that I read 50 different books a year now, but I probably read 11 books, but 50 times. Yeah. Because for me, and when I say read, it's majority listen. I'll read like a book like Traction or something where I want to go and highlight. I might have both of them up. And what I would just say is don't be scared to invest in that growth. Like buy the Audible book. And if you need the book, get the book too. Yeah. Like what's $30 if it's going to make you $100,000? Okay. And ultimately over the years, what's happened for me is that I really began to love this. And so I was supposed to leave last Wednesday, but we had some podcasting stuff and I had some things going on. We're buying and selling a home right now and all this wonderful thing. So I ended up having to move my flight for my speaking engagement in Arizona to, I moved my flight to Friday. And so I wake up at 2 a.m. to go catch a flight. And on my way, I'm like, hey, I've got to do something to keep me awake. Got to drive to Charlotte. So I turn on one of my favorite podcasts, Nope, I'm just playing. I'd already listened to our episode that week. So I turn on my second favorite podcast, and that was the leadership podcast, Craig Rochelle. Wonderful podcast. And so we had a guest on, Donald Miller. Heard the name, wonderful guy, and he's talking about his book, is 6 ways to build your small business or to grow your small business. And so I listened to that podcast. He's talking about the book and I'm like, man, this is just an incredible book. Have you ever had a time where or do you find yourself when you're going to catch that flight trying to do anything to keep yourself awake?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so I really echo that thing about just reading in general. Yeah. So I try to read as much as possible. And so whether it's through audio, whether I'll, having a library app and just getting free books and being able to read them like that. So my time to read is generally before bed. I have to be really careful with what I read because if I read business books, I just get excited and then I can't sleep.
That's right.
So I was like, oh, I can do this, I can do this, and this. And that's not a recipe for getting good rest. So I try to mix more just entertainment, pleasure books and business things as well. But yeah, absolutely. So I have an Audible subscription. Another really useful app is called Blinkist.
Oh, wow.
And where if you don't have time to read a whole book, it's going to basically it's like modern Cliff Notes for things awesome. Too. And so they do it audio wise and you can like physically read it as well. But yeah, so that is a way that we level up with things and we gain more knowledge and we can learn about all kinds of different things with that. So probably one of my favorite ones that I keep coming back to, and we'll get into a whole leadership series a little bit later in our podcast journey. But one of my favorite books is Extreme Ownership. Oh, man. With Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. And so, just hearing them talk about it. So I have that one on Audible. I've had it for 5 or 6 years. I probably listen to it every 6 months or so.
Yeah, just some books that hit like that.
And so it's a good reminder for me. So I absolutely echo everything you're saying about that's the difference between one of the big differences between being successful and not is that pursuit of knowledge and being able to apply it.
That's right. And listening to something multiple times just helps you with the application because you're in a different season of life, a different season of leadership, and hearing, even I joke to everyone, listen to the same sermons twice a month later, and you're going to get something different from it. You always do. And so, and it's always, like you said, it's the ideas you have. Keep a notepad handy. I can't read my writing, so I have to it's like hieroglyphics, but at the end of the day, I'll write down this quick idea or take this quick note. And it's like, I've got to pause it and let me get that down, rewind it for a moment. But man, it is so awesome. And I do believe it's been one of the best things for me. But going back to this, all of that hard work, it led to a really awesome moment for me because here I am at 2 a.m. I'm not complaining. I'm finding a way. How can I grow? So the whole way there, I'm listening to this podcast and I say to myself, you know what? I'm going to get that book. So I get the book. I hop on an airplane. I'm a 1.5x speed listener. So I can get through a book as fast as I talk is about as fast as I listen. I want to be, and I would tell you, if you can't find yourself to be interested in listening to books, but you want to, I'm telling you, speeding it up a little bit. And Craig Rochelle, another thing I like about him, he's the first other person that admitted that it's like, hey, I feel weird when I say this, but I listen to books at 1.5 speed or 2 speed. And I'm like, my dude, I felt normal. So I'm happy to hopefully share that with you. But it really helped me from sounding people like, hello, we're going to fast. It keeps my attention as an ADD child. And so ultimately, though, get on a plane, listen to the book, and I say, man, this was great. So I listened to it again on the way back. But what I wanted to talk about is I think it was very helpful. Also, quick side note, if you're an Audible guy, I'm gonna hold this up really quick. If you click on your Audible, the book that you're listening to, there's 3 little dots at the top. There is typically an accompanying PDF. Blew my mind.
Yeah. I had no idea. I had no idea.
So I found it on the plane. You get bored enough on the plane that you're kind of clicking around. And so this was really awesome. But really, ultimately, what this is about, and I want you to read it. So I'm not going to give everything away, but it was really 6 steps to helping grow your business. And what was really cool about it is that it's built around an airplane. They talk about different parts of an airplane. So you've got number 1 is leadership, the cockpit. Okay, number 2 is you've got marketing, which is the right engine. 3 is sales, which is the left engine. 4 are your wings, which are your products. And then keep going here. 5, your body, which is overhead and operations. And then 6, the last part, is cash flow, which are your fuel tanks. And so we're on a plane, sitting there being able to look out. It was just it was a really cool moment. But what an easy way, because in the book, he talks about your staff, your people. And this is the body of the airplane. Yeah. But if you can see the way that they're all made, if the engines are tiny and you've got a huge body, well, what's going to happen to that plane? Yeah. It's going to crash. Yeah. And so it's about really looking at your organization and your operation like a plane. And if it's out of proportion, it's okay if it has really big engines, but that's about the only spot that can be really big. And everything else not fall apart. Yeah. And so I thought it was really interesting, but I wanted to talk about a few of the aspects of this book with you and just kind of get your position on it. So number 1 was really leadership, being the cockpit. When a book or when someone's talking about leadership, and that's the pilot, that's steering the plane. What are your thoughts on the fact of what he's saying when that's the front and the most important part of the plane?
So first of all, I love airplanes. I love flying. So this is I'm really cool. I love this analogy. That's flying is my favorite thing. So I even sit on the window seat, even though I'm relatively tall and I'm cramped in there, but I just sit on the window seat just so I can see stuff. And I'm always taking a really long look at the cockpit whenever I walk into, and they're probably giving me side eye and stuff. But so all right, so going back to the cockpit analogy and the leadership portion of it. So absolutely, that should drive everything. So most of us that are going to be in a leadership position, especially when we're entrepreneurs, we've started the company. It's our baby. We've set up everything. We've done everything from the start, and so we should be the ones that are leading and steering us in the right direction. So now as we evolve in those leadership positions, we're going from doing everything all day, every day to we bring in people that are going to help with different things, and we build out our staff more and more and more. So then it becomes even more important for us to be, our primary goal then is being that visionary leader and making sure the plane is pointed in the direction that we want to go, and that we are addressing the things that we need to from a leadership and management perspective.
That's right. And it's ultimately knowing where you are and where you're going. I want to say in the book, and I may be wrong about this, but I think it said on any given trip, the plane is off focus like 5,000 different times, like because, and then the autopilot gets it back. But if you're the leader, you have to go back and reset and reset and reset. That's why you have your weekly meetings. That's why you have, and you have to be intentional about meeting with your team and just making sure something we were talking about that we'll elaborate more in the future is like the game of telephone. Yeah. It's like when something goes from person A to B to C to D, things get messed up.
Yep.
And so it's getting it back on track.
Yep.
Like where you're going, the team does, but are we going the best direction there? And so that's that whole leadership. And then number 2 is your marketing. It's clarifying your message so that customers will engage. It's having a message that's worthy of someone's time.
Yeah.
And so it's being smart in an engine, your marketing and, the sales side of it. This is what keeps your organization afloat. If you don't have the right marketing, you can't pay the pilot.
Yeah.
The plane's empty. It doesn't lift. It doesn't have liftoff, or it's going to crash.
Yeah, that's going to drive everything in the business. And so you got to have customers coming in. You got to have patients coming in. And the way you do that is marketing. And there's so many different aspects to that, but that's got to be. Like you talked about, the engines can be really big, so it needs to be, because, you, regardless of whether you're content at the size you're at or you want to grow, marketing is going to play a really large role in either one of those scenarios. And so, we want to grow. Marketing is going to be the way to do it. Yep. You got to have more customers. You got to have more locations, all that kind of stuff. And marketing is going to be the driver.
That's right. And once again, an engine is an important part that makes it go. And so you can't forget how important that is in your organization. But I would say none of these are more important than the other. It's just you see a plane and everything's designed for a reason. It is the way it is for a reason. Yeah. And I think when you look at it like that, it's so important. But then it talks about the left engine, which is sales, but it talks about stop selling, make the customer the hero, and invite them into a story.
Yeah.
And so, man, this is something that I want to come back to this one day in the future, because I know that you're going to geek out over this book once you get into it. But it talks about the simple art of crafting an email, and they talk about an at-home chef. And once again, guys, this book, I want to give you the name one more time, because I'm not going to tell you everything, but it is something that you absolutely need to read. Is How to Grow Your Small Business, a 6-step plan to help your business take off. 6 steps. So easy, like once you get into it. But ultimately, when we're talking about the sales side of it, he was talking about crafting an email, and he was talking about how this person is let's just say they're an at-home chef. Hey, I'm an at-home chef. I come to your house for $100 a meal. I'll feed your family. Cool. Like, maybe I want you, maybe I don't. But then he talks about, hey, what if we talked about it a different way? Hey, Jim, how often, or no, I want to come at it in the way that he said it. He said, hey, Jim, did you know how many Americans struggle with not being able to have a meal together as a family, even one time during a week? Is that something that you know anyone that struggles with, or you yourself struggles with? Well, guess what? I am an at-home chef. What I do is I help families get time back. Yeah. I help them work with their families, all for $100 a meal. I can do this. And then it says have a 3-step plan. He says what we do is we have a 30-minute consultation where you learn about me, I learn about you, and we figure out any allergies that your family has. Number 2, I come to your house, I create this meal for your family, and you guys have the time of your life. And number 3, when you're ready to do this again, we'll create a schedule that's best fit for your family. And so it not only talks about quit saying what you do, tell a story, be captivating, but also give them 3 simple steps. Yeah. Because when you start taking steps, well, guess what happens? You're in the process. And typically when people start, they want to finish. Yeah. And so what is your, not hearing that before, I'm sure you've read 100 books, this, that, and the other, but how cool is that?
It's really cool. And so it's essentially you're creating an emotional connection and solving some kind of problem, maybe even a problem that the person didn't even realize they had. And but it all comes back to that emotional need for connection, like in that case. But by telling a story, you're able to put that prospective customer into that story, and that's going to resonate a lot more in their mind than just listing out what you do.
That's right.
Because you're not creating that that big emotional connection with the service and the problem that you're able to solve.
That's right. No, it's incredible. And the last one, we're going to skip a few. We're going to go ahead and go to number 5. And once again, we're just very high. We're very briefly going over these because I want you to get the book. I want you to take it in and digest it for your business. It's absolutely helped mine. I mean, I think I took 1,000 notes. But number 5 was overhead and operations. Now, this is unique because it's the part of the plane. It's where everyone's sitting. You know, we're talking about the body of the airplane. And if the body's really fat, and your engines are really small, plane goes down.
Yep.
Okay. And so often this is a part that hurts because we start a business and what do? We go get merchandise with all of our swag on it.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the quickest things because we want to be somebody. We like me, and I'll say this to be completely transparent. You move into a space that maybe you don't have to just yet because you've made it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We do these things and all of a sudden our body is growing and growing and growing and our engines can't catch up.
Yep.
Thank goodness that hasn't been our problem, you know, but it's so easy to say, hey, Mom, look, I made it. And then you hire 4 people and all of a sudden you're like, what in the world? Now I got to feed all these people.
Yeah.
And so that's why I want to harp on this one is that the body of the plane is where everyone sits, but it's also the part that can cause the plane to go down.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so you have to make sure. So that's where, you know, we've talked about budgeting and all that kind of stuff. That's where that's the reason why it's important.
Yeah.
We don't if the marketing and the sales aren't supporting just your general costs, that is not a good way to go. You're not going to ascend.
That's
you're
right.
going to descend.
That's right.
And,
no, 100%.
Yeah. So with that, it's, you know, we have to make sure that you're taking care of that part. And I agree that with your interpretation of, you know, there's that temptation. All right, you know, we're doing good. I'm gonna get more swag, and we're gonna do this. We're gonna bring on more people, and I'm gonna buy more equipment and doing all that stuff. And absolutely, we need to make investments for the future, but we also need to do it in a manner that is safe and is a thing to where we're not putting the whole company and the whole plane in jeopardy by doing that.
That's right. No, and I think this has been incredible. And it's just one of those things that we're always growing because a business is so complex. But here is and I'm not saying this is going to be the end all be all for your business, but here's a 6-step plan that has a workbook. It has everything. You're spending $20 on this 6-step plan that if you really do look at it and you take a few pieces out of it, this will allow your business to operate in just a better overall way. But it's all about being willing to take some time and invest in yourself, which in turn is an investment in your organization. So I've enjoyed you sitting here with me as I've taken in this content and wanted to share it with you and all of our listeners together. And guys, I'm telling you, go out there, grab this book, and then share with us, comment, send in a message. Let us know books that you love that we can take in as well. And this is something that we would love to talk a little bit more about in the future is find these books, these nuggets, and just say, man, like shout from the rooftops, this is worth taking in.
Yeah. If you could be any kind of airplane, what kind of airplane would you be?
I would be the one that takes me from point A to B with no problems. That's your boy's just trying to get there. I've been on a plane like 7 times in my life, and every time I'm like, oh Lord. So, I can tell you that is me. I want a window seat, but I just want a smooth landing and a smooth takeoff. And I don't want to hear, this is my first time flying alone from the pilot when I get on the airplane, you know? What about you?
So I'm probably more fighter jets.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
I gotcha. See, no, not for me. That is a solo operated aircraft. Your boy wants to just be flying with someone else doing the hard lifting.
It's like we've gone on some trips and flying in a little small plane. And I'm like, so I'm in my mind, I'm always looking at, I was like, what happens if this pilot passes out or something like that? I'm going to take this over. I'm going to fly this plane.
Yeah, if I take over, you might as well start doing your prayers right now.
I have no idea what I was doing outside of just like playing video games. But
I love your mindset. Your boys over here just I'm just gonna keep reading my book. Yep. I'm just gonna pretend I don't see anything going wrong. I'm just gonna say everything's gonna be okay. Well, guys, we hope that you are never in that position on an airplane, but it has been so much fun as we've built this one together. Ask yourself, what would my business look like if I had to make an airplane out of it today? And just make sure it's one that's going to take you where you want to go. Thank you, guys.